Welcome to Amazing Dinosaurs. Today I'm showing you my entire shelf collection on these 3 shelves. Let's get started at the very bottom here with some of my super colossal figures. On the far right we've got Carnotaurus Toro with the battle damage right on its nose. Right next to that is my newest super colossal figure. This is the Indoraptor figure and I love its teeth. I've also got the Raptor figure in the white with brown striping on its body. And over here is a custom colored T-Rex figure. So I believe it used to be an orange T-Rex and now it's this really cool gray-blue color. Let's move up to the next level where I've got some really cool carnivore figures. There is an Indominus Rex figure right here. I've also got the super rare Spinosaurus with the battle damage right on its side. Let's check that out. You can open up its side right here and it reveals the ribs that you can also open, and there's, I think it's stomach that you can actually spin around by pressing a button over here. This one was quite expensive to find online. Next to that, I've got the Legacy Collection Spinosaurus, which is also pretty hard to find, although not quite as hard as this one. I've also got the Scorpius Rex down here, a really cool carnivore figure. And here's another Carnotaurus Toro. It also has the battle damage right on its nose. And then a gray Allosaurus here, a yellow Suchomimus figure. And this one looks pretty crazy, kind of similar to a Spinosaurus with the really long snout. And then finally, I've got this huge Pyroraptor figure that's actually battery operated, so it can come to life and it responds to each hit. Now let's keep moving up to the next level. This is my shelf of all T-Rex figures. Starting over here on the left side is the Hammond Collection T-Rex, one of my favorite, super posable. Here is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. It has a really cool chomping action. I also have the Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex figure in the dark brown coloring. There's a battle damage T-Rex way in the back here. This, I believe, is the Legacy Collection T-Rex, so it comes in the green coloring. Another one of my favorite T-Rexes. Here is the Terran T-Rex that has a massive tearing action with its mouth. That's the special feature for that one. Here's a smaller light brown T-Rex that has the button at the top of the head for the chomping action. And then at the very end is the epic roaring T-Rex from Camp Cretaceous. From the T-Rexes, let's go up a level to some of the smaller figures up here. These are all herbivores on this shelf right here. This first one is a Parasaurolophus. Here's a Stygimoloch. A little one right here is the Minnie character. Over here is a Zuniceratops, one of the earlier versions, as well as one of the balls from the Jurassic World and Camp Cretaceous series. The other herbivores I have on this shelf here is a baby Stegosaurus right here, as well as a baby Nasutoceratops. Look at those tiny little horns right there. And here is another Stygimoloch, but this one is in a dark gray coloring with some purple on its head. And the final two right here, this one is the Dilophosaurus figure, quite small and has some yellow coloring on the top of its body. And at the very end is a Pachycephalosaurus figure. And this one actually has a headbutting action when you move the tail. Now that we've done this entire first shelf, let's actually move to the shelf on the left here and let's check out these super colossal figures. This first figure right here is a custom colored T-Rex, colored to look like a fiery red T-Rex. It's really cool. I've got a custom colored Raptor figure here that's actually colored to look like an Indoraptor. You can see the gold stripe running down its side right there. And this one looks a lot like a raptor compared to the officially released version right here. This is the brand new Indoraptor super colossal figure. Of course, I've also got the super colossal Velociraptor Blue. It has the blue stripe running down its side and some really cool looking teeth. And then finally at the bottom of the shelf here, I've got a huge Giganotosaurus figure. This one is pretty different. You can see that when you push it forward, its legs actually stomp and it has some sound effects. Plus, you can lift up the head for a roaring action. All right, now moving up to the next level, I've got some quadrupedal dinosaur figures from Jurassic World here. On the very right here is the Kentrosaurus with the spines on its back and the huge spikes coming out of its shoulders. Next to that, this quadrupedal is a Ouranosaurus figure with some green coloring, and it has a slide lever action right there to move its head and have sound effects too. Up next, I've got an Ankylosaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. This figure's pretty cool. I love the bumps and spikes and texturing, and you can use the tail to control the head. Here is a new quadrupedal dinosaur from the Dino Tracker series. This is the Regaloceratops. Comes in a bright yellow coloring. It has some green detailing on the front and on the sides, and overall is just really unique looking. I've also got a Sinoceratops in the back right over here. You can see the differences between the two. This one has a huge front horn, as well as bigger horns on the top of its frill too. Next to that, I've got a huge Pentaceratops figure. This one has one of the largest frills that I've seen, as well as a ton of horns on its face and at the top of its frill too. I've also got a bright blue-green Stegosaurus figure in the back right over here, as well as two baby Brachiosauruses, one gray and one light green. And to finish off the quadrupedal shelf here, I've got the Hammond Collection Triceratops figure. Now let's move up a level to some of my newest figures. Many of these are from the new Dino Tracker series, like this Indominus Rex right over here. This is my newest Indominus Rex, and it is really cool. You can use the tail to open and close the mouth, as well as get some lights inside of its body, so it glows green. That is really cool. There's also the Sinotyrannus figure from the Dino Tracker series with its headpiece. Here is an Irritator. I got this one pretty recently as well, and it has some pretty amazing coloring. Look at that bright green on the top of its head, and then the brown and the dark brown. And here might be one of the newest T-Rexes that I've purchased. This is the 93 Jurassic Park Real Field T-Rex that they just released. It's got the soft skin all over its body and the classic red coloring. And there are a bunch more from the Dino Tracker series, like this figure. I can't remember the species of this one, so let me know in the comments if you recognize which dinosaur this is. There's also the Eocarcharia back here, and it's got feather texturing all over its body. There's also this Scorpiovenator, but I think this one actually came for Jurassic World Dominion, so it's a little bit older than the rest of these. And I've got the Dino Tracker's Indoraptor figure with the reflective blue and black skin coloring. It's so cool. And here's also the Epic Attack Carnotaurus figure. It's got the unique buttons on its side for the lights and the sound effects. And finally, for this shelf of new figures, I've got the Hammond Collection Ankylosaurus. And this Ankylosaurus has different coloring than all my others, and it's quite more realistic looking too. And now let's move up a level to some of the smaller figures. I've got two Baryonyx figures right here. This first one is the classic coloring with reflective blue on the top of its head. This is a special battle damage edition, so you can see some slashes right there on its leg and on its neck. Over here is the basic edition Spinosaurus with the same coloring as the Legacy Collection Spinosaurus. I've got another Indoraptor here. This one was released for the Fallen Kingdom movie. Over here is a Lego Brachiosaurus figure, so pretty unique and pretty hard to find, I think. And then for the final two dinosaurs on this level is a Concavenator dinosaur with the purple face and then this half spike on its back. And then a Ceratosaurus figure with the classic yellow, gray, and red coloring. Check out that all red face. All right, that was the entirety of the shelf on the left here. So now let's do the shelf on the right over here, and we're gonna start with this Jurassic World Dominion Super Colossal T-Rex. This Super Colossal version is colored very similar to the T-Rex that is smaller sized right here. They both have the dark brown coloring. Next to that Dominion T-Rex, I've got a much older T-Rex. I think this one was custom colored. It's got the camo green coloring and a bunch of battle damage on its side as well, which I think is a really cool feature. I think it'd be really awesome if they came out with a Battle Damage Edition Super Colossal figure. And then also on this shelf is this huge Brachiosaurus dinosaur. This one is actually pretty old. They've come out with a new version of it since then with totally different coloring. Now let's go ahead and move up to the next level here. Here are a bunch of Predator dinosaurs. So let's start over here on the left side. Here is the classic Camp Cretaceous Spinosaurus figure with the tan, brown, and red coloring, and there's a button at the top of its head for the chomping action. I've got another Baryonyx figure down here in the bright green and brown coloring. Way in the back there, kind of hidden, you can see that there's a Velociraptor blue figure. For my other predators, I've got a Carcharodontosaurus figure. Check out those little spikes running down its back, and it has a chomping action as well. Right behind that is another Suchomimus figure, but this one is in the dark blue coloring, so check that out. The next predator on the shelf is a Ceots Microrarum figure. This dinosaur has a bunch of blue coloring and dark blue along the top, and a single action button to move the head and chomp the jaw. Right behind that are two Cryolophosaurus figures. This first one I believe is a Camp Cretaceous one and is in the yellow coloring. And I've also got the dark blue version as well. But both are identical other than the coloring. Next to that, I've got a Mega Raptor way in the back here, and it actually has a chomping action. And then finally, I've got two more T-Rexes over here. This one is a Battle Damage Orange T-Rex, and then a normal light brown T-Rex. And these are obviously some of the coolest predator figures out there. All right, now I'm moving up a level. These are a bunch of my custom painted dinosaur figures right here. We'll go ahead and start on the left. Here is a Triceratops figure that I custom painted. It's got the gray body with the darker coloring and detailing along the top. And what I think is a really cool accent are these little red spikes all along its frill too. Next to that is an Atrociraptor figure in bright orange and yellow coloring. It's got the brown detailing along the top of its body and some bright red eyes. Next up, I've got a Sinoceratops figure recolored to look brown with some purple accenting along its frill. And here was one of the first dinosaurs that I colored. This is a Pyroraptor, and it is super bright, not very realistic looking, but it's still a pretty neat figure. But next to that is one of my proudest ones that I've repainted. This is a Stomp and Escape T-Rex, repainted with the brown on top, green on the sides, and the yellow underbelly. Up next, I've got a custom Hammond Collection Spinosaurus figure. It has the classic red on its face and on its spine, and actually was originally a Baryonyx figure. And then behind that, I've got some more T-Rexes. This is a Terran T-Rex, repainted to be a darker brown color and have some battle damage. There's also this camouflage battle damage T-Rex figure. And then next to that, I have a custom painted Sarcosuchus figure in the light green and brown on the top. And even cooler than that is this camo green Indominus Rex figure. And it even has some painted blood on the outside of its mouth and on the inside too. That is really cool. And now let's move up to the smaller shelf up here. These are all of my Raptor figures. So we're gonna start way down here. These three right here are Atrociraptor figures. This orange one was one of the first ones I've got, super brightly colored. This Atrociraptor is actually a part of the new Dino Tracker series. And this one right here is actually a battle damage Atrociraptor. So you can see the battle damage right there on its side that you can turn on and off with the click of a button. And then here are a bunch of Velociraptor figures. This one is a slash-in Velociraptor. This one's a spring-loaded one, brightly colored in the red and green. I've got a classic Velociraptor blue figure here. Here's another classic green Velociraptor. Here's a battle damage Velociraptor that came out for Jurassic World Dominion. There's a stalking Velociraptor right here, so it's always crawling along the ground. I've got a gray and bright yellow Velociraptor, a dark green Velociraptor, and then a blue and gold Velociraptor. And the gold on its face is actually a reflective paint. Welcome back. Today, we're checking out my entire display shelves of dinosaur figures from Jurassic World and more. Let's get started with this first shelf. Starting at the very top here, I've got this old Jurassic Park statue figure. I've also got this super colossal Carnotaurus Toro. I've got a Jurassic Park Jeep. This one came out pretty recently. I've also got a T-Rex skull from Jurassic World back there. And I've also got a Mosasaurus figure right at the very top. This is one of the big figures. And one of my favorite things about this middle shelf is this sign, just like from Jurassic Park. I think it looks really cool. We move down a shelf, you can see that I've got a lot of these smaller figures from Jurassic World. Some of these are Camp Cretaceous, some of them are Dominion, so I've got a whole mixture in here, but they're all Jurassic World. Over here on the right, I've got all my Dilophosaurus figures of all different colors. I've got some super bright ones, I've got some darker ones in the back. Right next to it are the Herrerasaurus figures. I think I have 3 on the display shelf right now. They're different colors. I've got a green one, I've got a light blue, and then I've got a dark green one way in the back there. Also hiding in the back there, I believe, is a Moros Intrepidus that you can recognize from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. Next up, I've got 3 Dimetrodons on display, all different colors. Got a light blue, I've got a bright green one. This is actually the battle damage edition that you can see on the side. And I've also got a darker brown green one in the back too. I believe this one is also from the Dominion series. And here on the left side, I've got a bunch of miniature Dilophosaurus figures of all different colors again. Got a soft green one right here. Here's a bright purple. This one's like a dark brown green color. I've also got a gray one right there as well. So I've got quite a few different types. And moving down a level, I've got all my Jurassic World T-Rex figures. Out of all the dinosaurs, I probably have the most T-Rexes. We've got this one that is the tearing T-Rex. We've got the Jurassic World Dominion figure right here in the back. Next, we have this bright green T-Rex. That's one of my favorites. I really like the coloring on this one. Right next to it is a battle damage T-Rex. You can see that there's some damage on its side and even on its face right there. Oh, and also a huge gash right on its chin too. Right behind it is a T-Rex of the same color, but a little bit bigger, and you can actually use its tail to control its jaw. Right next to it is one of my favorite figures of them all. This is the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. And I really like it because of the detail with the coloring and the shading. It's so much more textured than a lot of the T-Rex figures. I mean, just compare the coloring and texturing of this figure, the Hammond Collection, to this one. This one has a lot more just like simple coloring and shading. It's still really cool, but the Hammond Collection is a lot more detailed. Right next to that, I've got a smaller T-Rex. This one is a brown-gray color. It has the button on the top of its head for the chomping and roaring. And right next to that one, I've actually got a larger T-Rex. This one comes with a face cage. It's not on it right now, obviously, but you can use the button on its back to break free from the cage. Right behind that one, kind of hidden, is a camouflage T-Rex. I don't even have enough space for all the T-Rex figures that I have, but this T-Rex has some awesome coloring as well. Look at that green, brown, and black. That one would blend into the jungle super well. Let's keep moving down a level. Next up, we've got my Scorpius Rex figures. We first got this one with 2 action buttons. One controls the arms and the other controls the jaw. And squished way in the back here, I've got another Scorpius Rex figure, but this is the basic edition. So you can move the arms, the legs, and the tail on this figure, but there's no action buttons and the mouth doesn't open and close. Right next to it, we've got the Indoraptor. This figure is super adjustable. It's got some red on its eyes. It's got the gold line right down its side. I've also got the basic figure of that as well. So the mouth doesn't open and close on this one. Still has the same cool coloring, and you can move the arms and the legs. And moving down the line, we've got the Majingasaurus right next to it. It's got a dark green color with yellow and blue. Right behind it is the Concavinator, with its iconic spine right on its back. I've also got the Seats Micurarum, I believe it's called. Look at these interesting big teeth on its bottom jaw that fit in right onto its top jaw, just like that. I've always liked that. Right behind that, I believe, is a Mega Raptor. It's kind of hard to see. It's got a bright red body with the gray. This is the Rajasaurus with the horn on the top of its head and the spines right along the back of its neck. I've also got a Tarbosaurus figure. There's the Therizinosaurus from Jurassic World Dominion. And on the left side over here, I've got an Irritator from Jurassic World. I've also got a couple Cryolophosauruses. In the back here is a Yangchuanosaurus. It's bright green with the brown on the top and the red frills right on the top of its head. And at the very end here, I've got a few Dinosaurus figures. This one, I believe, came with the face cage that you can press the button on its back. Let's see if I can reach it here to break its head free. All right, let's move down to the final level of this first shelf. I've got the Jurassic World Dominion Super Colossal T-Rex. It's got the dark brown color with the black on top and the stomach compartment like all the other ones so you can feed it small dinosaurs. I've also got the Super Colossal Velociraptor that was released quite a while ago, I believe. This one looks really cool. And I've actually got another Carnotaurus Toro at the bottom as well. And that is it for the first shelf in the middle. Let's move on to this shelf to the right. Let's check out all these other Jurassic World figures. First, right at the top here, I've got another Super Colossal T-Rex. This figure is the orange and tan one. And of course, it has the stomach compartment, just like all the Super Colossal figures. Right beside it, we've got a Dr. Alan Grant figure holding a Dimetrodon skull, I believe. Also got a Velociraptor skull right here and a Jurassic Park little setup right here too, which is pretty cool. Moving down a level, we've got some herbivore figures from Jurassic World and then some more carnivore figures as well. Most of these are Velociraptors, but we'll get to that. Over here on this side, I've got a variety of herbivores. Like we've got the baby Ankylosaurus figure, we've got a baby Brachiosaurus right there in the back. Over here, I believe that's a Stygimoloch figure, and this might be a baby Stygimoloch figure, I think. There's also a Minmi figure that is dark red, and right behind it, I think, a Pachycephalosaurus figure. And then next up, I've got a ton of Velociraptor figures. These ones on the very right here are the spring-loaded Velociraptors that can actually jump up into the air. So you can actually press down on their legs and then release it and they'll spring up into the air, and they're all built that same way. And then all these Velociraptor figures come from various sets. I've got a bright red Velociraptor here. This Velociraptor is actually an extreme battle damage one that I got recently. You can check out the battle damage right there on the side. And they come in a variety of colors. I've got green, I've got gray, I've got brown, and I've even got a bright red one right here. Oh, you know what? This one is actually a spring-loaded Velociraptor as well. Let's move down a level to some more gigantic dinosaur figures. I've got all my Indominus Rex figurines right here from Jurassic World. This first one is the battle damaged Indominus Rex that you can turn on and off. Comes with sound effects. This one is actually a custom colored Indominus Rex, so you won't see one with this coloring around anywhere else. This Indominus Rex comes with the jaw chomping action on its tail and also a arm slashing action with a button on its back. And I've also got this little Indominus Rex figure that has a couple actions as well. You can press the button on the top of its head for sound effects, and then you can open and close the jaw with the tail and by pressing down on its tongue. Right next to that are my Giganotosaurus figures. I don't have that many yet. This big one in the back here is the Strike and Roar Giganotosaurus. So it swings its torso back and forth. It can also chomp on little dinosaur figures. This little one is the Sound Surge Giganotosaurus. So a lot smaller and not as detailed, but it does come with sound effects. And right next to that are all my Carnotaurus figures. I've got one from the Jurassic World Dominion movie. It's got the unique coloring and the broken horn. I've got 3 large-size Carnotaurus figures. All of them have the action buttons, and they're all colored differently. And then, of course, I've got a little Carnotaurus figure that can blink its eyes and also chomp using a button on its tail. All right, that's all the figures on this shelf. Let's move down one more level I've got a ton of herbivores here, and then more carnivores right over here. Let's start with the herbivores. So most of these figures are species related to the Triceratops, which I've already got 1, 2, 3 on display over here. I've also got the Pseudoceratops in the back over here, and I've also got a Sinoceratops figure right up front here, and another figure that I can't remember the species of right now. Moving on to the left, I've got the Pentaceratops figure with the head cage that you can break free from, and also an Ouranosaurus figure right in the back here. This figure right next to it, I believe is an Amargospinus. I can't remember though. Let me know down in the comments if you know which dinosaur this is. And then finally, I've got some more carnivore figures. I've got the Suchomimus figures right here. One of them is a bright yellow, the other is a dark blue with yellow. I've also got the basic edition Velociraptor blue and a few basic Dilophosaurus figures here. Got the soft green with red Dilophosaurus, and then a bright red and yellow Dilophosaurus. Over here in the back, actually, I forgot to mention, this is an Ankylosaurus. This one I got pretty recently, and this basic figure, I can't remember what species it is, but let me know down in the comments if you recognize this species. And hidden way in the back over here, I've got a little Atrociraptor figure and also a Dilophosaurus figure as well. All right, that's it for this level. Let's move down back to some more super colossal figures. This one is a blue-gray color with those blood red eyes, which I really like. I think this one might have been custom colored, but I can't quite remember. I'm pretty sure it is. Right next to that, I've got a big Brachiosaurus figure. You can open and close its mouth, you can adjust the neck and the legs as well. And right next to that, I've got another super colossal T-Rex. This one has some pretty awesome coloring as well. It's got the camouflaged green, it's got some battle damage on its side, and it's got some awesome orange and gold eyes. That's it for this shelf. Now let's move on to the next shelf to the right. Way at the very top, I've got an Apatosaurus gigantic figure. There's also a huge King Kong figurine. I've also got an old Jurassic Park Jeep and an RC Velociraptor Blue. Moving down a level, I've got a ton more Jurassic World herbivore figures. Got more Brachiosauruses, I've got the battle damaged Triceratops, another Mini, got tons more in the back over there. I've got a Miragaia with the huge horns on its shoulder. I've got this figure, I can't remember what species this is, but this is a pretty funky looking dinosaur. I've got more Pachycephalosaurus figures in the back, a Parasaurolophus right there in the middle. I've got a Protoceratops figure right there, and a Sauropelta that is the clay red and brown color too. Moving on from there, we've got many of my oldest Jurassic World figurines next. We've got the hybrid Indominus Rex figure with the gold on its hands and on its belly, and the red, and the spikes that come out of its back. We've also got this super old Indominus Rex figure. It's got the rubber head and neck, and the plastic torso and tail. It's really interesting that they used to create these dinosaurs out of rubber. They feel so weird, and they don't last as long, as you'll notice. I've also got a few smaller Indominus Rex figures. This one is tiny. It's got a little bit of battle damage on the side, and you can use the tail to control the head. And on this figure, a slightly larger Indominus Rex, it's got bigger battle damage on the side that you can open and close, and you can use the tail to chomp the jaw too. Right beside that, I've got a variety of T-Rex figures from the old Jurassic World line. Got this light tan T-Rex, got the button on its back to activate the jaw. Right beside that is a larger chomping T-Rex. This one also has a rubberized neck. And beside that, I've got some smaller T-Rex figures. This one on the right is a custom colored T-Rex, but it's the exact same as this tan one right over here. And I've also got this hybrid T-Rex right here. I'm not sure what it's a hybrid with, but it's got some spines that pop out on its back, which is pretty cool. On the next level, I've got more old Jurassic World figurines of all different varieties. I've got a little Mosasaurus figure right here. I've got some Spinosaurus figures. I've got a Dilophosaurus. Over here are a few Ankylosaurus figures. This one actually has a removable shell that you can take off its back. And then I've got a variety of T-Rexes, Triceratops, and even a Ceratosaurus in the back right over there. My favorite one on this shelf is probably this hybrid T-Rex Dilophosaurus figure. It's bright orange and it's got some gold on it as well. And on the final level of this shelf, I've got more giant herbivore figures from Jurassic World. I've got a huge variety of Stegosaurus figures. I've got a brown, blue, green, and a dark gray blue one. I think that's an iguanodon. I've got a kentrosaurus. Got a few parasaurolophuses. I've got more ankylosauruses. I can't remember what species this one is. And I've also got some sarcophagus figures. All right, that's it for this shelf. Now let's move over to the left here and tackle this giant shelf right here. Right at the top, I've got a huge Godzilla figure. This thing was expensive, let me tell you. I've also got a super colossal Atrociraptor figure. I've got a Ceratosaurus skull and another Mosasaurus, but this figure is actually a bit older than the giant one that I showed you over to the right. Right below that, I've got a few more miniature carnivore figures. I've got Atrociraptor figures right here, and I can't remember the name of these species actually. Right next to those, I've got some Hammond collection and Amber collection, Velociraptors and Baryonyxes, and even a few more too. I've got tons of the Amber collection Velociraptors, as you can see right here. Over here on the right, I've got the Hammond collection Baryonyx, and way over here on the left, I've got I think this is the Hammond collection Parasaurolophus. Got some pretty cool coloring on its back too. On the next level, I've got some more giant Jurassic World figures. Over here, I've got my Spinosaurus collection. I believe this one is the Extreme Choppin' Spinosaurus. I've also got what I think is a custom colored Spinosaurus figure. It's got some really unique coloring. And then of course the Camp Cretaceous Spinosaurus and a basic Spinosaurus right here. I've also got some more T-Rex figures that are a continuation of the T-Rexes that I showed you earlier. Got this orange T-Rex, extreme battle damage T-Rex, sound surge. I've got some baby T-Rexes right there. Here is a custom colored T-Rex and one of the classic T-Rexes, one of my favorites that you can control by pressing a button on its tail. Next up, I've got a ton more Jurassic World carnivore figures. Starting here on the left are Ceratosaurus figures from Camp Cretaceous and more. I've got a ton of Baryonyx figures. Some of them are battle damage, some of them are extreme chomping, or the other series, there's a ton in there. I've also got quite a few Allosaurus figures of differing colors. You can see that these two are slightly tan with blue tops. I've got a dark green one right there, and I've also got this gray-yellow Allosaurus figure in the back too. Right next to those are a couple of Metriacanthosaurus figures. I've got bright red, and then a yellow and green one, and some Albertosaurus figures too. The one in the back is an extreme battle damage. You can see on its side right there. And they are both a green with some red or orange detailing. And at the bottom layer, here are some of my final super colossal figures. This is Velociraptor Blue, also with the stomach compartment. I've also got an Indominus Rex figure with some giant teeth in its mouth. Here is a custom colored Tyrannosaurus Rex super colossal figure, and this figure is actually colored pretty similarly to the figure right up there, which is pretty cool. And I've actually got another Brachiosaurus figure. That is it for this shelf. Now it's time to move on to the final shelf right here that has some of my rarest figures. So let's start at the top shelf with this giant Mecha Godzilla figure. I don't have that many Godzilla or King Kong figures on display right now, but this is one of the few ones. Right next to that is a super colossal Giganotosaurus with the classic green coloring and the giant spine right on its back. On the top shelf is also this Jeep playset, and it actually comes with a rocket on its side. It doesn't have the rockets in it right now. And I've got this classic Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus figure too. On the next shelf, like I said, are some of my rarest figures on this one and this one because they are my Jurassic Park figurines. So these are all discontinued and you can't buy them new anymore. And some of them are actually really expensive to buy used on eBay or whatever the case is. So on this shelf, I've got a variety of herbivores and carnivores like the Pachycephalosaurus. I've got a baby dinosaur. I believe this is an Allosaurus. It's actually got battle damage. Triceratops. I've got a big raptor in the back. Stegosaurus, Triceratops, Parasaurolophus, and a Utah Raptor right on the edge here. On the next shelf, more of some rare figures. This is the Amargospinus. I've got the Chasmosaurus. This is a baby Triceratops. Got a few old baryonyx figures from Jurassic Park. There's the Spinosaurus and tons more, even these raptors right there as well. And interestingly, Jurassic Park released a Dilophosaurus that did not have the frills. So this is actually one of the first Jurassic Park figurines. As you can see, it is JP02. How cool is that? I've also got a variety of figurines from the Jurassic Park toy line and this Jeep as well. There is Dr. Alan Grant right in the middle there. I've also got some Ian Malcolm figurines as well. And right next to that, I've got one of the old Jurassic Park T-Rex figurines. And this has an all rubber body aside from the arms and the feet at the bottom. And on these bottom two shelves right here, I've got a variety of more dinosaur figures that are not from Jurassic World, but from toy brands like Papo. Got a variety of Tyrannosaurus Rex figures right here. I've got a Therizinosaurus. I've got a few Giganotosaurus figures. This one was extremely expensive to get. And even an Indominus Rex figure right here at the end too. On this lower shelf here, I've got more of a variety. Here are a variety of Carnotaurus figures of different colors and sizes. I've also got some Indoraptor figures, which are pretty uncommon for toy brands that are not Jurassic World. There's not that many out there. I've also got a few Spinosaurus figures and some other herbivore figures right here as well. Today, I'm going to be showing you my collection of Stegosaurus, Dilophosaurus, and baryonyx figures, and putting them up on this empty space on my shelf. I've even got a brand new set to unbox, but first of all, I want to show you something I've never shown before. This is a vintage Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus statue. It's got a huge frill, and it's even got some plants at the base of it too. This is really cool, super old, and I'm going to put this right here on this top shelf. Let's go ahead and dig into the rest of my Dilophosaurus figures. This first one is the basic red Dilophosaurus. You can actually open and close the frills, and it's got a huge yellow crown on the top of its head. So let's put this Dilophosaurus right over here on the Dilophosaurus shelf. Next up, I've got another basic but giant Dilophosaurus figure. This one is the teal green blue coloring with the bright red frills in the front and the bright red crown on the very top. Let's go ahead and put this next to my other giant basic Dilophosaurus figure. It's looking good already. Let's see what other Dilophosaurus figures I have in here. This one is another vintage figure. This is a Dilophosaurus without the frills, which I think is pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and set this one down on the shelf as well. Right over here, we've got a miniature Dilophosaurus figure with bright yellow and red frills, and it's got the green body as well. That's really cool. It's pretty small, but you can still open and close the frills too. And let's set this down right next to the other one. Next up is a gray Dilophosaurus with red and white on its frills. And this Dilophosaurus actually has an action that when you pull up on the tail, it'll open its mouth and open its frills too. Let's go ahead and set down this Dilophosaurus too. Next up is a bright purple Dilophosaurus with red, yellow, orange all over its frills and some red on its body as well. This figure is a little bit bigger, but it doesn't have any action buttons to activate the jaws or the frills. Let's see if we can fit this Dilophosaurus right in between the two large ones. Perfect. Right over here, we've got a green, orange, and yellow Dilophosaurus, and this one actually has the lever action that'll open its mouth and its frills. Look how fast that is too, that's really cool. Let's set this Dilophosaurus down right on the end here. Two more Dilophosauruses to go. Here is a dark green and black one, and it's got super bright red on its frills. And this figure is actually one of the new Jurassic World Dominion Dilophosauruses. So this is probably one of my most recent Dilophosaurus figures. And our last Dilophosaurus is another mini green Dilophosaurus, but this one has brown on its back, and it's got red and yellow on its frills too. This is looking great so far. All right, let's move on to the Stegosauruses. But first, let's actually open up this brand new Jurassic World set. This is the Dr. Sarah Harding and Stegosaurus pack. And the box is even designed to look like a truck, which is really cool. All right, so this set comes with 3 figures. It's first got the giant Stegosaurus figure with some pretty unique coloring. I don't have one with this coloring yet. It's also got a baby Stegosaurus right there, and of course, Dr. Sarah Harding on the side. Let's check out the giant Stegosaurus first. So it looks about the same as many of the other Stegosaurus figures, but it has this clay red coloring on the top, and then the green on the sides, and then a brown underbelly, which is really cool. And like many of the Stegosaurus figures, it has an action that when you press down here, it swings its tail back and forth. Next up is the baby Stegosaurus figure. It has similar coloring as the adult. It's got the green on the sides and the brown underbelly and the red on top, but is a whole lot smaller. And look at that, even the spikes on its tail are a lot smaller too. That's pretty cute. And here is Dr. Sarah Harding. She's even got a camera wrapped around her neck as well. It's pretty cool, taking photos of the Stegosauruses.
Bingo!
Let's put Dr. Harding and the baby Stegosaurus right next to the Dilophosaurus figures. This is where our Stegosaurus domain will start. And let's put the adult Stegosaurus right next to them. Look how big this Stegosaurus is in comparison to this baby Stegosaurus. All right, let's get the rest of these Stegosauruses up here. This first one is a vintage Jurassic Park Stegosaurus with a huge battle damage on its shoulder. And it's even got some similar coloring as to the Stegosauruses that I just opened up as well. So why don't we put this one right next to that one. Moving right along, we've got a light blue and green Stegosaurus figure. It's got some pretty good detailing on its side. It's got the darker green on the top. And this figure also has the action that swings its tail back and forth. Well, it looks like we're out of room on this shelf, so why don't we move down to this other shelf that I cleared out to make space. Right here, we've got a dark gray blue Stegosaurus with a light pink underbelly. It's totally different coloring, but this figure also has that same action that when you press down on its back, it swings its tail back and forth. 2 more Stegosauruses to go. Here is a green, brown, and tan Stegosaurus, and this one has a slightly different action. It still swings with its tail, but it actually swings its entire back torso, so it's different from the other Stegosaurus figures. So it's a pretty cool feature. Let's set this down right next to these other Stegosauruses. And here is the final Stegosaurus. It's got a light underbelly with brown on the sides and tan and green on the top. That is different from all the other ones that I have up here still. So let's set this one down right here at the end of the line. All right, that's all my Stegosauruses. Now, it's time for the final dinosaur, the Baryonyx figures. Let's start with this one right up front here. This is a battle damage Baryonyx with the brown and dark gray blue coloring on the top. Let's set this Baryonyx down right next to the Stegosauruses, and the rest of this shelf will be for only the Baryonyxes. Let's see what we've got next. Here is another battle damage Baryonyx. This one is actually the same as this one, so we're gonna put it in the back right here. Next up, we've got a bright green and brown Baryonyx, and of course it's got a button on its back to activate the jaw. Let's put this down right here on our Baryonyx shelf. Here is another Baryonyx figure, but this one has lighter green coloring, and it has only one shade of brown on its head. Plus, this figure has a slide lever action to activate the jaw and sound effects. Let's put this figure down right next to our other green Baryonyx. We've got another dark green Baryonyx figure here. This one is, I think, the same as the first green Baryonyx. So we're just gonna put this down in the back here. Next up, we've got a gray, dark blue, and light blue baryonyx with the slide lever action on its back, so you can get a ton of different sound effects. This is the first gray baryonyx figure on the shelf, so we're gonna put it right up front here. Here is the Hammond Collection baryonyx. So this one has a bit more detailing and a whole lot more points of articulation on its body. This one is super posable. I really like this one, so why don't we put this on the front of the shelf as well. And this is our final large baryonyx of the bin. This one has some super bright blue reflective paint on the top of its head, which I think is a really cool detail. And let's set this big baryonyx down in the back here. And our last two baryonyxes of the bin are these vintage Jurassic Park baryonyx figures. These ones are totally different from the new baryonyx figures that Mattel is releasing now. Look how different in size they are, but I'm gonna place this one right up front here. And let's grab our other vintage Jurassic Park baryonyx and place it down right in front next to the other old Jurassic Park baryonyx. And that is it. My new shelf displays are complete. I've got the Dilophosauruses, Stegosauruses, and finally the baryonyxes. Welcome to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today I've got all my Jurassic World Dominion figures, and I've even got some new ones that we're gonna open up. I've got this empty space on my shelf, so today we are going to do a Jurassic World Dominion shelf build. The first that I'm gonna put on the shelf is the Spinosaurus. This figure is mostly black, but it's got some green and it's got a red stripe down its back. So let's put that on the lower shelf right here. The next one is this huge Giganotosaurus figure. This figure has the iconic soft green color with the black detailing along its back. It's got that huge spine and those really cool looking teeth. And this figure actually has two action buttons. The first is with this button on top that swings the torso back and forth. And the second is a button on the bottom of its tail used for opening and closing its mouth. So let's put that on the right side of the lower shelf. I've also got a smaller Giganotosaurus figure here. This is the Sound Surge Giganotosaurus. So as you'll notice, quite a bit smaller than this one right here, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it right next to the larger one. In the back here, I've got a huge Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. This figure is a lot darker color than a lot of the other T-Rexes that you'll see I have on the shelves over here, but it still has the same awesome button on its tail to control the jaw, and you can use the tail to twist the torso around too. So let's go ahead and put this right next to the Giganotosauruses. Why don't we go ahead and open up these ones that I bought for this video. This first brand new one, I believe is pronounced an Ichthyovenator. Wow, that's a long word. But let's open it up and check it out. Here it is out of the box. It's got a dark green body, but a super bright lime green tail and spine on top of its back. This figure also has an action button that when you press down on its body, it does the chomping action. And it's got some sound effects too. That's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and put this on the higher shelf right up here. Next, I've got the Extreme Damage Allosaurus from Jurassic World Dominion. I'm super excited about this one. I've been waiting to get my hands on this one. This is probably my biggest Allosaurus figure. I have other Allosauruses that are similar colors as this, but none of them have this awesome battle damage on the side. As you can see, you can actually lift the rib cage up to reveal the stomach beneath it, or you can close it all the way to make it not have any battle damage at all. That is super cool. Plus, I believe it has one action button on its back for the jaw. Oh, check out that blue tongue too. That is pretty cool. So let's put this Allosaurus right next to the Therizinosaurus on the lower shelf. Next, I've got the Roar Strikers Sinoceratops.
let's check it out. I do have a few other Spinoceratops figures, but this one has totally different coloring. It's got this super bright yellow tail, the soft green body, the big horn in the front, and those black eyes. I think that's a really unique choice for a dinosaur like this. So let's put this Spinoceratops on the top shelf right there. And last of the new dinosaurs that I'm going to unbox is this tiny little Therizinosaurus. This is a very small Therizinosaurus figure, but it's still pretty cool. Of course, it's got the iconic huge claws in its hands. You'll notice that it's a dark color, unlike the large ones that are a gray color. But other than that, it has some pretty similar coloring with the larger Therizinosaurus. So why don't we put it right next to the larger one right there. Next up, we've got the Megaraptor with the red back and the dark blue front. And it's got some white detailing on the tip of its face too. And check out those orange eyes. That's pretty cool. And this figure has an action. It chomps when you press down on its back. So let's put this on the higher shelf right up here. This is a Pyroraptor with the red body and the black legs, tail, and face. It looks pretty evil, I will say. It's got like almost like a mischievous grin on its face almost. I'm gonna put this Pyroraptor right next to the extreme battle damage Allosaurus. This is the Rajasaurus. I've bought this figure really recently. It's got the dark blue body and some lighter detailing on its neck and under its chin too. Let's put this right next to the Therizinosaurus. And I do believe I actually have another Rajasaurus in here. Yep, here it is. This one is brown with some blue detailing on its back and neck. So it is totally different from this other Rajasaurus that we have. But I'm gonna put them side by side. This next Jurassic World Dominion figure is the Ankylosaurus. It's got the clay red body and this super long neck, and you can use the button on its tail to open and close its mouth. Let's put the Ankylosaurus right next to the Spinoceratops. Here we've got two identical Atrociraptor figures, but one is miniature and one is a lot larger. So let's check out this first one. This is a basic figure, so you can't move it too much, and the jaw doesn't open and close, but it still is a great display figure. So let's put this right next to the Megaraptor. And let's take this little Atrociraptor figure and put it right next to the larger one too. Next up is the Yangchuanosaurus with the green body and the brown and red detailing. Let's put this dinosaur right next to this T-Rex here. This is a pretty cool looking dinosaur. This is the Siamosaurus. It's got the red spine and red face, and the rest of its body is a dark blue color. Let's put this dinosaur right next to the Ankylosaurus. This is the Sound Surge Tyrannosaurus Rex. This is a bit smaller of a figure than many T-Rex figures, but it still has some pretty awesome sound effects. Let's go ahead and put this T-Rex actually right next to this other T-Rex. So we need to move this Yangchuanosaurus and put this T-Rex down right in between. Here we have an Iguanodon figure. This figure is tan, dark brown, and it has some lighter detailing on its back, and it has an action when you press down on its body. It moves its neck up and down. Let's put this Iguanodon right next to the Siamosaurus. I've got a Rowdy Roars Atrociraptor. This one is bright orange, so a bit different coloring than the ones that we saw earlier, and it also has some sound effects that come with it too. Let's put this Atrociraptor actually on the very tall shelf. I've got some space up here too. Here is another Rowdy Roars figure. This is the Dilophosaurus figure, and it also comes with sound effects as well. That's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and put this also on the very top shelf. This is the Hammond Collection Baryonyx figure, so it is super posable and a bit more detailed than normal. And it's also got some cool coloring with the gray and the white and the dark blue on top. Let's put this Baryonyx right next to these Atrociraptors. Here is a miniature Carnotaurus figure. It's got the dark green and orange body. That's pretty cool. Let's put this figure right in front of the big Giganotosaurus figure. See if we can fit it in. Right there. Let's see what else we got. We got another Atrociraptor figure. This one is tan with brown striping. So let's go ahead and put this right next to the other Atrociraptors. And I've also got a few extreme battle damage figures in here too. This first one is a Velociraptor with battle damage on the side. Let's put this one right next to the Baryonyx figure. I've also got the extreme battle damage Coeloris figure. Let's put this figure right in front of the Ichthyovenator on this top shelf. And I've also got the extreme battle damage Dimetrodon figure. It's got the light green body and the orange spine. Let's put this figure right in between the Yangchuanosaurus and the Rajasaurus. Next up, I've got the Moros Intrepidus figure with the green body and the orange tail and orange stripe. I'm gonna put this dinosaur right next to the Iguanodon figure. And next is the Miragaia figure. This figure is darker colored. It's got some black and a dark blue-green color in the back. And it's got those huge spikes coming out of its shoulders too. Let's put this figure right next to the extreme battle damage Velociraptor. And last but not least, I've got these three super colossal figures. Let's first put this huge Giganotosaurus figure and put him up at the top of the shelf up here. There we go. That is a huge figure. Next, I've got the Atrociraptor with brown striping, and you'll see on this one that there's two tones of brown color on it. And I'm gonna take this figure and put it up on the top of this shelf to the left over here. That's pretty cool. So now it's like the Atrociraptor and Giganotosaurus are fighting. And finally, I've got the Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. And I'm gonna put this figure down below on this lower shelf next to these other super colossal figures.
Welcome back to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today, I'm gonna give you a shelf tour of all my dinosaurs that are gonna show up in the Jurassic World Dominion movie. I'm super excited to show you all of these dinosaurs. And look at these, I've actually got some brand new ones that we're gonna unbox first. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, first, let's unbox the Therizinosaurus. This is the sound slashing from the Jurassic World Dominion series. Let's open it up. All right, got it out of the box. Wow, this is a noisy dinosaur. Let's see what it can do. Look at these massive claws in the front. And you can open and close its mouth and adjust its head. Let's see the action moves. If you move the tail. Oh, all right, look at that slashing action. And also there's a button on the tail as well. Let's see what happens when you press that. All right, that is super cool. Wow, this is a super awesome dinosaur. Super ferocious, and with those massive claws, I definitely do not want to be messing with this dinosaur in the wild. Let's move on to our next brand new dinosaur. All right, next up, we've got the massive action Yangchuanosaurus. This is so cool. Let's open it up. All right, so here is the mighty beast. It's mostly green with a little bit of brown on the top. Look at that on the top of its head. That is so cool. That is so detailed. It's got those massive teeth as well. Let's check out the actions that this has got. Ready? There's a button on its tail. Let's try that one first. All right, that controls its mouth, so you can chomp with it. And with the tail, you can actually wiggle it back and forth, and it'll move his head as well. So you can chomp and move its neck at the same time. That is so cool.
Watch out, here comes the Yangchuanosaurus. All right, another brand new Jurassic World Dominion toy. This is the Quetzalcoatlus. This is a winged dinosaur. Awesome, let's open it up. All right, here we go. This is a massive winged dinosaur. Let's open up its wings. You ready? Extended and extended. Wow, look at that. That's probably like a foot across. That is huge. And let's check out this button here. If you press it, what happens? All right, it flaps its wings. That is so cool. And there's actually a button on the bottom as well. Look at that. Let's see what happens when you press that. Oh, its mouth opens and closes. And look at the size of this head too. That is a huge beak and a very colorful beak too. All right, now let's check out all these other dinosaurs that I have on my shelf. Let's start way up here up top. Here is a gigantic Velociraptor. Look at the size of those claws. Those claws are bigger than my fingers. Look at that. That is huge. And with this toy, you can open and close its mouth. Look at that. That is so ferocious. Right next to it, we've got a, well, what is this? I think this is a Brachiosaurus. That is so cool. Look at the detail to it. That is very neat. Up next, we've got a baby Indominus Rex. Look at this. It's kind of cute, and it's got a ginormous head. You can open its mouth to reveal its tongue. Oh, it's even got a roaring action as well. That is so cool. Look at this. This is a model Spinosaurus. Uh-oh, I think it's missing an arm actually. But look at its mouth. You can open and close its mouth. And check out that spine too. This is a huge dinosaur. But this toy is even bigger. This is the Scorpius Rex. And these toys have a few actions. One of the buttons controls its mouth, and the other controls the claws. That is super cool. Up next on the top shelf, look at this gigantic Carnotaurus. This is one of my favorite giant dinosaurs that I have. And look, it's even got some battle damage right there on its face. And just like the other giant dinosaurs that I have, you can actually fit miniature dinosaurs down its throat, and it actually has a stomach compartment as well. That is so cool. These are one of my favorite dinosaurs for sure. I just love the way they look. Right over here, we've got a mighty Stegosaurus with those huge spikes on its tail. That is so cool, and I love the coloring as well. But watch out, right next to it, a giant Indominus Rex. Watch out! Look at the size of those teeth. Those are huge. And I love the eyes on these as well. These look super sinister. I love these giant dinosaurs. And right beside it, we've got some smaller dinosaurs too. We've got a baby Triceratops right here. We've got Velociraptor Blue. Everyone knows this one. We've got a model Tyrannosaurus Rex. Look at the muscles on the dinosaur. That is massive. And this one has an adjustable mouth as well. Look at all those tiny little teeth. And the last one on the top shelf, a baby Carnotaurus. This dinosaur has two actions. The first is a button up top you can press, and it blinks its eyes. That's kind of cool. And the second action is a button on the bottom of its tail. When you press that, it lunges forward and bites. Watch out for this dinosaur. All right, moving on down to our second shelf. We've got a mama Dilophosaurus and a baby Dilophosaurus right beside each other. And they're both super brightly colored. That means you better stay away from these. Over here, we've got a T-Rex with battle damage. Look at that on its side. And the tail also can control the mouth and the head as well.
Right beside the T-Rex, we've got this awesomely colored Pachycephalosaurus. And look at that action when you pull the tail. The head goes up and down to headbutt the other dinosaurs. Watch out. Over here, we've got a little baby Brachiosaurus. This is a cute little dinosaur and still quite adjustable. It can move all its legs and its neck and its mouth as well. And moving on from this baby Brachiosaurus, we've got a baby Triceratops. We've got a green Velociraptor. Look at it, it's kind of sneaking along. It's in that sneaking pose. You better watch out for this Velociraptor. And we've got this Gallimimus right here too. Look at this. It's a little dinosaur. It's very cool. All right, moving on. Over here, we've got a Parasaurolophus. Look at the coloring on this dino. Super bright and even a little shiny. Look at that. That is super cool. Oh, and it's got some sound effects too. That is super neat. Right on over here, we've got a giant Velociraptor. This one is super cool coloring. I love, it's like teal coloring and it's super speckled all over its body. That is so cool. I love it. Right beside it, a smaller dinosaur. This is the Dilophosaurus. And look at this, it's standing on 4 legs. The neck is adjustable, the legs are, and it's got those orange specks on its back. Right beside it, we've got another giant Velociraptor. I think this is Velociraptor Blue. And standing right beside her is Owen. Come on! Right beside them, we've got another mighty dinosaur, the Ceratosaurus. This one has action buttons on it. Let's see what it does. That's cool. It's a sliding button, so you can actually move it to multiple positions for different roars and a different opening of the mouth. That is awesome. And right beside it, we've got a super different looking dinosaur. This is the Ouranosaurus. Whoops, there goes the Ceratosaurus. That's okay though. This Ouranosaurus also has an action button. Let's see what it does. That's super cool. It moves its neck up and down with sound effects. That is awesome. I love the coloring on this. All right, let's keep going. Over here, we've got a model Tyrannosaurus Rex, and look at that roar pose that it's in. That is so cool. And right beside it, we've got another Parasaurolophus. This one is yellow as well, and I think it has an action button too. Yep, right up at the top. Moves its neck, and then I think it has a second one for its tail too. Super cool. Right beside it is a big old Brachiosaurus. This one is red, and it's made a little bit more from like a rubber substance. In real life, these dinosaurs are ginormous. Right next to it, oh, look out, another Velociraptor. This one is a bright green with stripes all over it. And it's got some type of device on its head, probably for tracking it. And on the rest of this level, we've got another Brachiosaurus. This one's striped green and red. We've got a bright blue Velociraptor, another baby Brachiosaurus, and one of my favorite Velociraptors. Look at this one. This has gold on its head and on its back. That is so cool. All right, moving down a level, here we go. Here is a bright green Velociraptor. This one has a button on its side. I think it's out of batteries now, but it also has a tail action. When you pull the tail, its mouth opens and closes. Right beside it, here's a good old Ankylosaurus. Look at all that armor it has. That is so cool, and it's got an action button. This is one of those sliding buttons. So when you slide it up, you can go back and forth. Oh, it's hitting my hand. Over here, we've got a giant Triceratops with an action button. And it roars as well. That is so cool. Look at those giant horns. But watch out, right beside it, we've got a T-Rex with battle damage. Look, that's where the battle damage is gonna come out. You ready? Here we go. Bam! There's the battle damage. And you can pose this T-Rex's mouth too. So if you wanna keep it open for when you have it on the shelf, there you go. It's ready to go. That is so cool. Right beside it, we've got another awesome Carnotaurus. This is a super bright dinosaur. I love the coloring along its body. And this dinosaur has an action button too. Look at the tail, you can spin it, and it moves its head. And when you press the button, it chomps its mouth. That is so cool. Oh, and here is a mighty dinosaur of the sea. This is a Mosasaurus. These things are ginormous, and they can eat huge dinosaurs. You can move the fins, you can move the jaw, and look at the attention to detail all along its body. That is so cool. All right, moving on. We've already unboxed these 3 dinosaurs, and moving on over here, this is the Edmontosaurus. Look at that beautiful yellow crest on its head. And this dinosaur has an action as well. Like many of the other dinosaurs, if you move the tail, you can move its head. That is super cool. I love how you can control these dinosaurs. Right next to it, we've got another giant Tyrannosaurus Rex. Look out, everyone! And right beside it, not quite as big, but still ferocious looking, this is the Albertosaurus. I really like this dinosaur because this looks different than a lot of the other dinosaurs, and it comes with really cool battle damage. You can close it all the way, and then you can even move its rib cage up and down. That is so cool. Right beside it, another giant T-Rex. This is so cool. Look at the size of that face and jaw. That is so awesome. And this right here is a Baryonyx with some super cool coloring. Look at that orange right on its nose right there. And this dinosaur also has an action button to control its jaw. And the last on this level of the shelf, another great and mighty Scorpius Rex. It's got the jaw button and it's got the slashing action too. And of course, the poisonous quills on its tail. You better watch out for those. All right, let's move down another level. Here we go. Right at the edge, we've got another little Velociraptor Blue. Over here, we've got a model Spinosaurus. Look how mean this one looks. This one looks super angry. Look at those teeth. Look at those eyes too. Wow, that is a super scary looking dinosaur. And right next to it, we've got the glorious Indoraptor. The super smart, super intelligent, and super dangerous dinosaurs. These are super cool. And here are 2 more Tyrannosaurus Rexes. And look, they look quite a bit different. This one actually has a rubber tail, which I've always found very interesting. It's a unique addition to this toy. But these are really cool. I always love adding more T-Rexes to my collection. All right, let's move on. What else do we have here? Oh, here is another giant Triceratops. This one is green, and it's got the stabbing action with its horns and another button to control its tail too. How cool is that? But what is this giant one right beside it? Let's see. Oh, this is another giant Brachiosaurus. Look at the size of that neck. That is so huge. Right next to it, another massive looking T-Rex. That is so awesome. And this T-Rex has a button on its back for the chomping. That is so cool. And right beside it, we've got a giant Velociraptor. This is actually an RC Velociraptor. You can see it's got some wheels and it moves its arms, but look at that face. That is so cool. You see all those teeth? And look at those eyes too. That dinosaur is looking for something to eat right now. Oh, check this one out. This is a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but look how bright it is. That is so cool. It's almost like it's on fire. That is so awesome. I love the custom coloring on this T-Rex. And right beside the T-Rex, we've got this winged dinosaur. I think it might be a pteranodon. I can't remember actually. Let me know in the comments if you know what type of flying dinosaur this is. But I love that gold on its face. Look at that. That is super cool. All right, let's move on. Over here, we've got another giant Indominus Rex. And this one is super adjustable. You can move its arms and its legs and its neck, and it has a few action buttons as well. The first is the claw slashing action. Look at that. And then the second, press down on the tail, and he gives a mighty roar. That is so awesome. This is a huge Indominus Rex figure. And here we go, another giant T-Rex. This is so cool. This one is an orange T-Rex too. And look at all that different coloring. It's like darker on the top, and then it gets to a brighter orange here, and then its belly is even brighter too. Super neat. And our last few dinosaurs on this level, we've got a Stegosaurus right here. We've got another model Spinosaurus. Look at those eyes. It's looking for food to eat right now. And finally, another awesome Ankylosaurus with all that armor and then the action button to swing its tail. That is so awesome. And moving down to our final level, these are more giant dinosaur figures. I believe this is the Apatosaurus. And look, you can even open and close its mouth too. This is a huge dinosaur. But the one I like even more than this, custom colored giant Tyrannosaurus Rex. Just like that smaller one we saw, this one looks kind of like it's on fire, really. And it's just so huge, you can open and close its mouth, and you can actually fit miniature dinosaurs down its throat to its stomach compartment down here. That is so awesome. And we've got even more larger figures. Here is a giant T-Rex that is orange. And beside it, we've got Velociraptor Blue, giant form. And just like the others, can fit some mini dinos all the way down its throat into its stomach, which is super cool. And look at those claws again. Those are huge. And right beside it, we've got another uniquely colored Tyrannosaurus Rex. Look at this one. This is like a bright blue, kind of like a grayish white color. This is so cool and so different from the other figures that I have. And just like my other giant figures, this dinosaur has a throat that you can feed miniature dinosaurs, and it goes all the way down its throat into the stomach compartment where you can get them out. It is so cool. All right, here are the final huge dinosaurs. I've got two matching Brachiosauruses. These things are both, I don't know, probably like 2 or 3 feet high, and they're super detailed. Look at that skin. Look at their eyes and their teeth, and even inside their mouth. And last, but certainly not least, the great Tyrannosaurus Rex with battle damage. Look at this. I love this one because of all the battle damage that it has, and just like all the detail. This one's mostly green, so I think that this one would blend into the jungle more. And it is just so cool and so massive. I love this one. Welcome to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today we are checking out a bunch of Camp Cretaceous and Jurassic World figures and putting them up on my empty shelves right over here. Got a lot of shelves to fill, so let's get started with the brand new Spinosaurus and the Snap Squads. First up is the Camp Cretaceous Extreme Chompin' Spinosaurus. Let's open this up. Alright, this is a huge figure. I have a few other Spinosauruses like this one. So the coloring's pretty realistic. It's not too crazy. It's brown on most of its body. It's got the red detailing on the spine, on the face. It's got those orange eyes. Its body is pretty adjustable. You can move the ankles, the legs, the tail, the arms. You can even adjust the neck like that, which is pretty cool. And it's got a button on the top of its head that you can use for chomping. Next up is the Camp Cretaceous Snap Squad Spinosaurus. This is a little one. You can still see that iconic spine right there. Let's open it up. As you can see, most of its limbs are pretty loose, so they actually just dangle there. And that is because you can snap this onto something and then it'll just dangle there. And just like the big Spinosaurus that we saw, this one has those dark orange eyes too. Let's check out our other Snap Squad figures. Next up is the Triceratops from the Snap Squad series. This figure is a dark red, kind of like a maroon color. It's got the yellow eyes and the yellow detailing right on the front. It's got the 3 horns, and just like the other, its legs are dangly, so that when you snap it onto something, its legs will dangle like that. And last but not least, the Snap Squad Carnotaurus, one of my favorite dinosaurs. Let's get this opened up. All right, here it is. This Carnotaurus has a lighter color than most of the Carnotaurus figures I have. You can see it's got a light brown and then dark brown on the top. But like all the other Carnotauruses I have, you can see it's got the battle damage right there on its nose. That's really cool. All right, let's put all these new figures on the shelf. Let's start with the Spinosaurus, right in the dead center of this empty shelf right here. These Spinosauruses are usually pretty hard to balance, but this one's working out. And let's snap these Snap Squad figures right next to the Spinosaurus. Gonna hang the Carnotaurus upside down, right on the shelf. This little Spinosaurus, I think I'll attach to the big one, right on its hand. And the Triceratops, where should we put that one? Ooh, I know. Let's hang it right on the banner right here. Ha, that's actually pretty cool. Let's fill up my shelves with the rest of these Camp Cretaceous figures. Let's start with this Ceratosaurus right here. This is gray and red mostly. You can see it's got some brown detailing on it, and it's got an action button for its jaws. That is really cool. Let's put it front and center right next to the Spinosaurus. Here we've got a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex. This is like a brown-orange color. You can see it's got a button on the top to control its jaw. And you can adjust the neck just like the Spinosaurus. And you can also adjust the rest of the limbs too. Let's put this one on this right shelf, right in the center. Next up, a huge Indominus Rex with battle damage on the side. This is the battle damage that you can turn on and off with the button. That is super cool. And still, the rest of the figure is pretty adjustable. You can adjust the legs and the arms and the neck too. And there's the action button on its tail to control its face. Let's put this Indominus Rex right next to the Spinosaurus, right in the middle. There we go. Here is another T-Rex. This T-Rex, when you move the tail, it controls the head. So it looks pretty realistic. This T-Rex is brown in color as well. You can see the browner stripe right along the top of its body and a light underbelly. There we go, 2 T-Rexes side by side. Here is a slightly smaller carnivore. This is the Carnotaurus. And just like the Snap Squad figure that we saw earlier, you can see that battle damage right on its nose. How cool is that? And it's pretty detailed on its body. You can see there's black specks all over its mostly red body with a lighter underbelly. So let's find a place for this on the shelf. Let's go over to this side right here. Put it right next to this Velociraptor. Here's another giant Indominus Rex, but check out the coloring on this. This is totally different than the gray one that we have over there. This is a custom colored one, so it's got blue, purple, orange, and black, plus those green eyes right there. That is really cool. Let's find a spot for this on the shelf. Let's put it on the other side of the Spinosaurus. All right, there it is. This first shelf is looking pretty full already. Check this one out. This is a gray and yellow Allosaurus, I believe. Look at that action button right on its back to control its jaw. This is pretty cool. And it's a fully adjustable body as well. Let's put these right next to the T-Rexes. Here is a T-Rex with a very special feature. With this action button, you can see that it has a tearing action. That is pretty unique. Not that many figures that I have do that. So let's find a place for this right next to the Carnotaurus. Here is an herbivore. This is a Triceratops. It's a red maroon color with brown detailing on the top. And it's got an action button that you can press to roar. Seems like the sound effects aren't really working right now, but this is a pretty detailed figure. Looks like a little discoloration on its leg right there. Or maybe that's intentional. I actually can't tell. Let's put this on this higher up shelf right here. And we've still got a few more T-Rexes in here. This one is a battle damage, just like the Indominus Rex that we saw earlier. You can press the button to turn the battle damage on and off. And this T-Rex is fully posable, so when you open its mouth, it actually stays open. You don't have to press a button. Let's put this right next to this other Terran T-Rex right here. There we go, got a little more space. Here is, I believe, another Allosaurus. This Allosaurus, though, is yellow with blue coloring all over its body. You can see that there's two different tones of blue. Got the light blue and the dark blue. Plus the two action buttons on its back. One to control the jaw and one to control the arms. Let's put this right next to this other Allosaurus. All right, looking awesome. Here is a Baryonyx. This has probably one of my favorite colorings of the Baryonyx figures that I have. Two tones of green, got the dark green in the front and the bright green in the back. Got some yellow detailing and some red right next to its eyes. Let's put this right next to the Triceratops up top here. Here's a weird looking dinosaur. This is a Sarcophagus. It's got a dark purple, it's got some orange, got red, and then the rest of its body is like a blue-gray color. You can move all of its legs, and it's pretty adjustable actually, and you can move the tail to control the head. Let's put this right in between the Spinosaurus and the Indominus Rex. Oh, we've got another T-Rex right here. This T-Rex, I don't think has battle damage or anything like that, so this is just a normal T-Rex. It's got the button on the top of its head for the roaring action. Let's put this T-Rex right next to the other T-Rexes. Here's an interesting looking herbivore. This is a Kentrosaurus. Check out those huge spikes right along its shoulders, as well as the spikes on its tail, just like a Stegosaurus. And this Kentrosaurus has a sliding action to swing those spikes back and forth. That is really cool. Let's put this right next to the Baryonyx up top right here. Here's another Baryonyx. This one has bright orange detailing right on the top of its head. The rest of its body is brown and a dark gray-blue color right along the top. Let's check out this action button too. Let's put it next to these T-Rexes and Carnotaurus right here. This dinosaur, I believe, is an Tyrannosaurus. It's pretty unique in its shape and color. Look at that bright blue right along its mouth. It's got some yellow on its spine, and it's got a light underbelly as well. Plus, this Tyrannosaurus has a slide action. Alright, let's find a place for this. Let's put it right next to the Sarcophagus, right up front. Here is another herbivore. This is a Spinosaurus. You can see it looks pretty similar to the Triceratops, but the big difference is in its horns and its face. Plus, it's got an action button on the back to control its head as well. Let's put this Spinosaurus right next to the Kentrosaurus, right up top. Here's another predator. This is a medium-sized figure, and this is the Metriacanthosaurus. It's got the action button on its back to control its jaw, and the rest of its body is like a yellow-green color and darker green along the top. Let's put this right in front of these T-Rexes right over here. Here's another predator. This is an Albertosaurus. This dinosaur has an all-green body with orange detailing right along its back, all the way up to its head. And this figure has the action button on its tail to control its jaw. Next up is a Ceratosaurus with dark green coloring and black detailing along its back. And this Ceratosaurus has the slide action to open and close its jaw in multiple degrees. Let's put this Ceratosaurus right next to the other one, right here. Next up, we've got another mighty Triceratops with a brown body and two tones of blue. You got the dark blue in the back and the light blue in the front. And with this Triceratops, you can actually control the head with the tail. You can twist it back and forth. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, but you can control its head. Let's put this Triceratops right next to the Sinoceratops. Here's a different looking dinosaur. This is the Suchomimus. It's got a super long and narrow snout. This dinosaur is blue and yellow in color, and it has one action button that you press to control the head. Let's put this Suchomimus next to, you know what? Let's put him on this lower shelf, right next to Godzilla. Over here, we've got a small little one. This is Ankylosaurus bumpy. And as you can see, we've actually got a full-size Ankylosaurus with the same coloring as Bumpy. Let's check both of these out. So Bumpy's pretty small, doesn't have any action buttons, but you can adjust the head and the legs and the tail as well. But the adult one has an action on it. Let's check that out. Just like many of the other figures we've seen, this Ankylosaurus has a slide action on its back. And can you guess what that does? It swings its tail around. That is really cool. Let's put these Ankylosauruses right on the shelf. Check it out, it is another Carnotaurus. This one is more brightly colored than the other ones that we've seen. You can see all those bumps and spikes on its back. It's got the dark brown on the top, and it's like a red-orange on the sides and a gray underbelly. Let's put this Carnotaurus right next to these T-Rexes right over here. This is looking pretty awesome. This is like the carnivore shelf so far. Here we've got another Albertosaurus, but this one has battle damage. You can see it's got the stomach, it's actually pretty squishy. Then you can slide down the ribs, and they click in place, and then you can actually cover it up all the way. Let's put this Albertosaurus right next to the other one. Here's another big figure. This is a Stegosaurus with a mostly green body and some brown and tan detailing. That is really cool. Let's put this Stegosaurus next to these Ankylosauruses down here. Alright, we've got even another Allosaurus with the slide action for its jaw. This figure is a dark green color all around its body, and it's got the light tan and red detailing right along its neck, and those red eyes too. Let's put this dinosaur next to this Indominus Rex, right in the front. Here is our last medium-sized dinosaur of the bin. This is a Baryonyx, and it's got green on the belly and sides, and then 2 tones of brown. Got the light brown in the back and the dark brown in the front, and more light brown right on top of its head too. Let's put this Baryonyx right next to this Baryonyx over here. All right, that shelf is just about full. Let's go ahead and grab these Velociraptors. Got 1, 2, and 3. Check out the different coloring on these. We've got a bright red and green Velociraptor. We've got a dark gray and yellow Velociraptor. And we've also got a bright orange, yellow, and brown Velociraptor. Let's put all of these Velociraptors together on this front shelf right here. Second one right here. And the third one right here. Right next to the Atrociraptor. Got some interesting looking smaller dinosaurs. I believe this is a Protoceratops. This one is a super light green on its side and the yellow detailing all over its body. Let's put this Protoceratops right here. Next up, we've got a dark red Minmi with spikes all over its top. Let's put this dinosaur right in the front, right in front of the Spinosaurus. Over here, we've got a Zuniceratops. It's got the 2 spikes in the front, and it's got a bright green body with the dark gray-blue coloring on the top, and all in the front, too. Let's put this Zuniceratops right in front of this Triceratops right here. Check out the spikes on this Sauropelta. It's got a bright red body along the top with brown on the bottom. Let's put this Sauropelta right in front of the Indominus Rex. I believe this dinosaur is a Monolophosaurus. This dinosaur has a light brown body with gray detailing on the top and on its feet too. Let's put this dinosaur right up top here next to the Pyroraptor. Here is a winged dinosaur with battle damage on its wing. That's interesting. This, I believe, is a Pteranodon. Let's put this Pteranodon on top of the Indominus Rex. I think it'll rest there really good. Just a few more dinosaurs left. This is a Tanystropheus. This dinosaur lives in the water. And this figure has an action. When you pull down on the tail, it moves its neck up and down. Let's put this dinosaur way over here next to the Triceratops. Here is another winged dinosaur. This is a Dimorphodon. This dinosaur has a shorter snout compared to the Pteranodon, and you can see that it's got some dark red or maroon coloring right on the underside of its wings. Let's put this flying dinosaur right up top. This T-Rex right here. Next up, we've got a bright green Dracorex with gray striping along the top of its body. It's got a bunch of horns on its head. You can adjust the neck, the head, the arms, and the legs. I think you can twist the tail too. Let's put this Dracorex right next to this Minmi. Here is a Stygimoloch. This dinosaur is a orange-red color along its body with darker detailing along all of its body. It's got the light underbelly, it's got the horns on its head, and of course the super hard head for headbutting. And our last dinosaur is a Gallimimus. This dinosaur is a light tan along its body. You can see it's got some striping on the top. Plus, it's got an action button to move the legs back and forth for running. Let's put this right next to the Stygimoloch up top here. Welcome back. Today I've got a ton of Allosauruses, Carnotauruses, and Spinosauruses, and I'm going to be putting them all up on this empty space on my display shelves. Let's start with this big old custom colored Spinosaurus figure. This figure was custom painted a long time ago and has a ton more detail than a lot of the other Spinosaurus figures, and is one of my favorites because of that color coding. Let's grab some of these other Spinosauruses. This is the Camp Cretaceous Spinosaurus with the tan and the red spine and red face. Why don't we put that one right next to the custom colored one, right over here. And here's another giant Spinosaurus figure. I believe this one is the Legacy Collection Spinosaurus, so it's got different coloring than the Camp Cretaceous dinosaur, but it has the same red spine and the red face as well. And look at the color difference with their eyes. Next up, I actually just bought another custom colored Spinosaurus. So let's open it up and see what it looks like. All right, so this is a Hammond Collection Spinosaurus that has been custom colored by someone that I purchased from on eBay. It's still got the red spine, but it's got some cool blue coloring. It's got red along its back. It's got a bunch of white, pretty good detailing. This is really cool, and it's got some darker green eyes as well. So let's put this right in front of these bigger Spinosaurus figures. All right, let's dig into some of these Carnotaurus figures. This first one is one of the darker versions, so it's a brown with black spots on its back, and of course it's got the action button on its tail to open and close its mouth with sound effects too. So let's put this right here next to our Spinosaurus figures. And let's go ahead and grab some of these other Carnotaurus figures too. This is the Jurassic World Dominion Sound Surge Carnotaurus figure. There's a button right at the top that you can use to activate the sound effects. And you can see by putting them side by side the color difference between the two. This one is a lot brighter. And I've even got some more brighter ones in here too. This Carnotaurus is one of my brightest Carnotauruses. It's got a bright yellow and then it fades into the brown on the top. And just like the Carnotaurus on the far right, it also has the button on its tail for the chomping, and you can use its tail to move its head around too. I've still got quite a few Carnotaurus figures in here. This one is a darker red with almost purplish coloring along the top. And it's a bit smaller than these large Carnotaurus figures right here. Just a little bit smaller, and it has a different action. There's a button right at the top of its back for chomping its neck back and forth. It's a little stuck though. Let's see here. I think I've got some more Spinosaurus figures in here. This one is not made by Mattel, it's a model Spinosaurus. So it's got some pretty cool different coloring, but unfortunately you can't move any of the body parts. Let's see if we got a little bit more room up here. We might have to move the Carnotauruses over. Let's see if we can set this Spinosaurus down. Way down here is another Spinosaurus figure, another model, but with entirely different coloring. It's got the red spine, like many of these Spinosaurus figures, but it's got a much darker body. Let's set this down. I think we're gonna have to move the Carnotauruses, so I'm just gonna put this one here for now and move the Carnotauruses down to the next level. Let's see what else. Let's start with the Allosauruses. This is my biggest Allosaurus figure, and it is the extreme battle damage version from Jurassic World Dominion. Let's set this down on the far corner of the lower shelf. I've got my Carnotauruses already set up over here and the Spinosauruses on the next level. Let's go ahead and grab another Allosaurus figure. I've got a gray and yellow one, a whole lot smaller than this Jurassic World Dominion figure, but still pretty cool. It has an action on its back for snapping the jaw.
And moving right along, let's grab this Spinosaurus figure. This is an old one, a Jurassic Park Spinosaurus, so it looks way different compared to these new ones over here. Let's go ahead and set it down next to these model Spinosauruses. Right over here, we've got another Allosaurus figure. This one has the tan and two-toned blue coloring. It's got two actions on its back, one for clamping the jaw and one for swinging the arms. Set this down right next to the gray and yellow Allosaurus. Let's see, all right, another Carnotaurus figure. This is a model Carnotaurus figure. It's got some really cool coloring patterns, and it's got a bright orange face, which is unlike any of the Mattel figures. Let's put this Carnotaurus, much smaller, down right there. Here's another small Carnotaurus, but this one is made by Mattel. This is actually from Jurassic World Dominion. So it's got different coloring compared to the rest of the older Carnotaurus figures, and it's also got a broken horn. Right over here, we've got another old Jurassic Park figure, but this one is an Allosaurus figure. This one actually has battle damage that you can take on and off its body. It's really cool how you can remove them completely. Let's put this down right next to the other Allosaurus figures. Oh, you know what? I've got this huge Carnotaurus figure right here. This is the super colossal Carnotaurus Toro figure. It is ginormous, and you can actually feed it smaller dinosaurs that'll go into its stomach compartment. And I think this dinosaur will have to go on the very top shelf. That's the only place that has space, I think. Check it out, super tall. Here is another Spinosaurus figure. This one has the same coloring as the Legacy Collection Spinosaurus, but is a lot smaller, and it's actually the basic version because you can't open and close its mouth. Looks like we've got some more model Carnotaurus figures. This one has some really cool spikes all along its back and some really interesting coloring as well. Let's set this down right in front of these larger Mattel Carnotauruses. Ooh, check out this Spinosaurus figure. This one is actually posed as if it's swimming through the water, which, if you know, Spinosauruses actually did hunt in the water. So this is pretty cool. Let's put this at the end. Looks like we got a little more space for a few more Spinosaurus figures. This Allosaurus figure is pretty recent. I believe it is a Camp Cretaceous Allosaurus and has the slide lever action for roaring and for moving the mouth. Well, looks like we're running out of room on the lower shelf. Hopefully we have enough space for the rest of the Allosauruses and Carnotauruses. Here's another model Carnotaurus figure. This one is like a green-yellow coloring. It still has some red detailing along the top, and it is in this really cool roaring pose. This might be the smallest Carnotaurus figure that I have on my shelf so far. Next up is another big old Allosaurus figure. I believe this one has pretty similar coloring to the extreme battle damage Allosaurus, but it has a slide lever action on its back for a bunch of different roars and chomping actions. I think we have enough space for one more Allosaurus right there. Perfect. Looks like we've got a juvenile Spinosaurus model figure right here. This one is by Papo. It's got some pretty cool detailing and coloring. You can still see some green along its spine right there. It's really cool. Now let's put this at the top shelf along with all the other Spinosaurus figures. Here's some figures that I don't show too often on the channel. This is a Snap Squad Spinosaurus by Jurassic World. It's a little itty bitty figure, and it actually has a spring-loaded mouth so you can clamp it onto stuff. But I just want to stand it up right here, so it's right next to all the other figures. Here's another Snap Squad figure, but this one is actually a Carnotaurus, and you can see that even this one has the battle damage right on the front of its face too. All right, looks like there's a little bit of space left. Let's see if we can stand this one up. There we go. And the remaining biggest figure is another Carnotaurus, but this one is gray, and it's almost like a gray-blue coloring. It's got some red right there on its neck, and some interesting bumps and texturing all over its body. All right, let's see where we can set this down. Maybe right here in the corner. All right, all that's left are these teeny tiny figures. These are both Spinosaurus figures from Jurassic World, and they are really small, but they have different coloring, which is pretty cool. You've got this gray and green one, as well as this brown and black Spinosaurus. And the final figure for this shelf build is this Carnotaurus figure from Jurassic World. And I think this actually came from McDonald's, so it was part of a Happy Meal or something. but it is officially part of Jurassic World. So let's put this down next to all the other Carnotaurus figures. Whoops, knocked over a few.
Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.